welcome back into another episode of Sportslandia. Get those big old eyes ready over there. I know that caught you off guard there, Ray. Another episode of Sportslandia brought to you by the next professional athlete, and a big thanks to Golden State Lumber for letting us use their office to record. Thank you. We can't do it without you.
Much appreciated.
Interesting Week 10 in the NFL. We'll be recapping that along with Fantasy Sandbag. Ray's got a recap of Worlds that man. I think you and I are both.
You're
obviously more heavily involved into it, but you gave me some of the information, and I got excited about it just because you didn't want it to be all one-sided here. So a little bit of that in the Nerd Corner, and then we're also going to be doing a little something different now.
Yeah.
I thought I'd sprinkle in something.
I'm curious.
One of my favorite subreddits is Not the Onion, so I want to read some of the headlines that have come across this week, and I'd love to get your opinion on them.
Big Shrek fan.
Big Shrek fan. Yeah, you heard that they're going to do Shrek 5.
How could I not hear that?
Yeah, of course, everybody's into it.
I'm excited. That's because someone posted it on LinkedIn. That's how they found out.
Somebody who works at DreamWorks.
Yeah, I was like, I'm working on Shrek 5, and then they had to erase it from their LinkedIn.
Well,
what a hilarious way for that to unfold.
I feel like that happens more often than not.
Probably.
Just like well, that's not true. Not true. Not happening. I deleted it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some of that NFL action. Week 10. Ravens and Browns, a game that started out probably in the most Browns fashion possible. Deshaun Watson 0 for 1 with a pick six to start out the game.
Yeah, it was feeling good at that point.
Yeah.
The Ravens were.
You think you're going to run away with it, but actually they ended up choking that one
Pretty
away
bad.
to the Browns. Honestly, Deshaun Watson was two different people in that game. He started out, I want to say, like 1 for 8, and then in the second half he was 14 for 14, leading that comeback for the Browns. I know you and I aren't necessarily Deshaun Watson fans, but it's still impressive to do against the Ravens defense in general, who's been really strong most of the year.
They were legit to start the game. I mean, it was impressive. A lot of screens being thrown, I will say. But I don't know. Yeah, Baltimore kind of choked it away there. They were playing with their food, not really taking things seriously. Lamar kind of has these tendencies sometimes to play, I don't know if it's hero ball or trying to get it all in one play or just a little quite careless with the ball. He's got plenty of fumbles on the year. I
think that's just him.
It kind of is at this point. It's a little bit of a boomer bust tendency sometimes, but they just kept playing with their food. There was a field goal that was blocked at one point that maybe would have kind of put them over the top, and weren't able to finish it out, and just kind of slowly bled away until the Browns actually pulled it off. But yeah, that's AFC North games for you.
Yeah, it was 17-9 at halftime in favor of Baltimore, and then 24 points by the Cleveland Browns in the second half. 16 of them coming in the fourth quarter. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Did you happen to see what Hopkins, their kicker, had to say about missing the extra point, but then hitting the game-winning field goal?
No.
He considered himself. Let's see the exact words were he called himself an arsonist who put out his own fire and then gets a pat on the back.
Okay, I always think of this as the Jimmy Neutron situation, where every episode he would create this giant problem, but at the end of the episode he would save the day.
He'd save the day, yeah.
And it's like, well, we wouldn't really have had to stop the giant ice monster if you didn't want a sledding day or whatever.
Right,
like,
exactly. You did it to yourself.
So I do kind of appreciate that kind of thinking from him.
Lamar Jackson, 13-23, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not exactly his finest day.
No.
As a quarterback, I know he's on your fantasy team, so you were probably keeping somewhat of a close eye on that.
I always am. I'm a Lamar stan. I'm always rooting for him. The Ravens feel like my second team after the Pats, which I luckily didn't even really have to watch this Sunday.
It's nice when they play super early.
I woke up after that, just saw the disappointing 6-10 scoreline, was like, I don't need to look at that too much. But yeah, Lamar's kind of had a lot of these games recently. Especially fantasy-wise, he had a 30-point outing, and then since then it's been kind of middling around 10, 11, 12 for a lot of these because it's just high variance. He is handing a lot of these touchdowns off to his running backs, which obviously has a big effect.
Yeah.
He's leading those drives to that point, but yeah, I don't know. You just wonder every once in a while what the ceiling is sometimes. It just feels like he's, again, I don't know if he's playing down to his competition or just like playing too much backyard kind of bullshit football, and you can get yourself in trouble pretty quickly in those situations.
Well, I think you look at both quarterbacks, and I think about Lamar and what he's been able to do come playoff time. It's kind of what you just said, where they played a lot of backyard football. He extends plays with his legs. There's not a lot of continuity with that offense at times.
No.
You're trying to get a lot of people involved. I mean, they're running through running backs like crazy because of injuries for the most part.
Yeah.
But you're mixing in that many people in the backfield. There's no consistency on pass blocking for him right now.
Yeah.
And you're going to make mistakes when you've got the pressure in your face. You're trying to make plays and what you just said again, backyard football type moves where
yes,
let me run around. This guy looks open. I'm going to throw it down there, and then the next thing you know, there's 3 defenders that are actually right there that you didn't even see before.
Yeah, a lot of that is part of the reason he has 10 fumbles lost on the year.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff will happen. The ball's out there hanging around.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know. I do kind of wonder if they've got this new Keaton Mitchell rookie guy into the rotation in the backfield a little bit.
Yeah.
He showed a lot of pop even in this game. His first touch he took for a 30-yard touchdown.
It's $53 worth of pop, right?
Yeah, he better be. That's what I spent on him at the waiver. I had to make sure I got him, and I did, and I did start him, and it was worth it. He dropped a second touchdown he would have had on like a 30-yard wheel route, and then they really didn't get him super involved after that, which was kind of shocking to me considering he was having the most kind of success of any of the guys out there. Other than the consistency that Gus Edwards gives you, which makes a lot of sense. So it feels like he's kind of taken over that secondary role, and maybe that'll provide a little bit of pop for them, kind of like Achane with the Dolphins. He's just got this incredible speed and can break these plays off. So we'll kind of see. And I think the problem is a lot of the times with the Lamar offense is he has to carry the team and has to do everything. So if he's making mistakes, the offense isn't working because there's not a lot to fall back on. So it does kind of make sense when you look at it through that lens of these highs and lows performances. Because if he's on, the offense is great. If things are a bit off with him, then the offense doesn't work because it's all built around him.
Well, the good news for them is they're still very much in the AFC playoff hunt right now. They sit at 7-3. I believe the Jaguars were on bye this week, right? So they have.
You may believe that based on how they played against the 49ers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
It looked like they were on bye.
They did play the 49ers. You are correct. But the Ravens sit in second place right now in the AFC. The Browns are actually playoff eligible as well. They sit in that 6th spot.
3 AFC North teams right here, right?
3 AFC North teams. The 4th one that just fell out, though, was the Cincinnati Bengals. And they went up against the Houston Texans. And what seemed to be the newest playoff contender, they find themselves in the 7th spot after the victory over the Bengals, 30-27.
Hot.
Nothing but consistency from these two teams, quarter-wise. After the first quarter, it was 7-0 Cincinnati, then 10 points by Houston, so it's 10-7 at halftime.
Yeah.
10 points, 10 points, 10 points, 10 points for each side in the third and the fourth. Everybody's just getting 10 points, but it ended up being 30-27. I believe it was a last-second field goal by the Texans that sealed the victory for them. Left too much time for the new kid on the block, C.J. Stroud. 356 yards, 23 completions, 2 touchdowns. One of them was rushing, the other one passing, and then he did have a bad interception, but
very bad.
I think the important thing, though, is after that interception, he regrouped the team and got them right back down the field, and so they could score.
Yeah.
And I think that's the real sign of a good quarterback is able to kind of wipe that one from the memory, learn from it in that moment, realize what went wrong. He went back to the sideline, and then on that very next drive led them down to points. And he easily has to be up there for Rookie of the Year right now. I mean, he is.
Easily. I think it's time to start talking about actual MVP conversation with him. They start winning like this, they get themselves in the playoffs. The thing is, when you look at that award too, it's like I said with Lamar, it's like he is the whole reason this offense works. It's for Lamar and for CJ Stroud. Like this offense isn't really that good without him. Now they did have the pop-off Devin Singletary game for a career high, I would have to imagine.
Yeah, 150
I don't know how many more of those are coming. And he's working with, I love Tank Dell, but Nico Collins was out. Noah Brown went for over 100 yards. It's thrown, John Mechie is getting sprinkled in. So it's not quite there yet, but the way they're playing and the way he's performing, if they keep it up, it's going to be more and more difficult to keep him out of that conversation, I think, especially when like the other candidates like Lamar this week had a bit of another downer. even the Chiefs, it's like you can put Mahomes up there. Obviously, you kind of tend to do that every season, but it's not been the same explosive offense.
He is the best quarterback.
He is, but they've also kind of been led by their defense a lot this year.
Yeah,
the Niners, it's like McCaffrey, Purdy, Dolphins, Tyreek, Tua. You're splitting votes. Usually I feel like if you're even naming two names on a team, that immediately is canceling.
Yeah.
How can I say Tyreek is MVP, but also Tua is? It's like, well, okay, huh? Which is it?
I would say Tyreek is more the MVP of that team than Tua.
As I would say McCaffrey with the Niners.
100%.
I think those are both kind of offensive game plans that are juicing the numbers and putting quarterbacks in the right situations. But those skill position guys make it all work.
The one thing I really like about what the Texans did this week, too, was they've been so pass-heavy using their offense through Stroud. I mean, there's been multiple games where he's had 40-plus attempts. Now, he had 39, so he's right on the door of that one. But 34 rushing attempts as a team on 39 passing as a team for Stroud. So very much so. I mean, it was very skewed over the last few weeks. Now, Dameon Pierce was out, but as you mentioned, Devin Singletary, 30 carries, 150 yards, 1 touchdown. He's averaging 5 yards a pop. And so, Houston looked offensively like a complete team because they were able to run the ball effectively and still pass it, which everybody knows if you get your run game going, that really opens things up because you get safeties coming down, you can run play action off of it, and it's only going to help C.J. Stroud going forward if you keep that consistency up. Everybody knows he can throw it. We've seen it now through 10 weeks.
In system, out of system, broken plays. He was doing it all over.
All of it.
But you're right. This is an offense that loves taking shots as well. So if they actually do get a consistent run game and can run those play action plays and open it up a little bit, that is immediately much more terrifying.
Yeah. The one knock on C.J. Stroud this week, though, a couple fumbles. So that, and I think that's more of rookie still getting the feel of the speed of the game.
Yeah, I mean, one of them was very close to just being one of those incomplete passes. They got it right before he kind of released it.
Mm-hmm.
The pick was very bad.
Yeah.
Very bad in the situation. They barely make the tackle. The defense steps up in a lot of ways. They let them get that touchdown after the next 3 and out. They hold them to that field goal and allow them to actually be able to go down and kick the field goal. And I do want to say this is the team that had to have their third string running back kicks for them last week.
Yeah.
Kayami Fairbairn? I can't say this guy's name.
It's close enough.
Original kicker was out again this week. They got a guy, I believe, from the XFL.
Matt Amendola.
Yeah. I was constantly thinking of Amendola on the Pats, and I was very confused still. But he made he did.
He went 3 for 3.
He made his extra points, made his kicks, made the biggest kick of his career, won the game. So it's a team effort over there, and it's a young team. So I'm curious if they can hold on to that 7 spot. It'll be interesting to see. And on the other side of the conference in the 7th spot are the Vikings. With another MVP candidate at quarterback.
Yeah, you say that jokingly, but honestly, he's the last couple of weeks, he is the reason why the Vikings have won now that Kirk Cousins, he had successful Achilles surgery, so he's on the mend. But Josh Dobbs, who showed up on a red eye basically before last week's game, willed them to victory by basically being coached on the field as it was happening. He came out and got a good victory against a tough Saints defense. I know the Saints offensively haven't been all that great this year, but the Saints defense has been relatively strong.
Yeah.
And Dobbs, 268, only 1 touchdown, but he also had 1 rushing.
It's quite a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, it was too. He had to scramble out of the way of a couple people and then got the corner. And he doesn't use his legs like a traditional dual threat guy. He only uses it for the most part when he needs to, and I really like that he does that. I think that's what makes him different than a lot of those other guys. Now, he doesn't have a lot of miles on him as a starting quarterback in the NFL, but he's making smart plays for them right now. He's not turning the ball over. He did that a few times with the Cardinals, but I think it's much different talent that he's dealing with in Minnesota than he's dealing with in Arizona. So
True.
He's got more players that can help him out and thrive in this position. And honestly, it's his team now. It's not like they're going to go back to Jaron Hall.
No.
No offense to him, but he's a rookie and
can't go away from Dobbs right now. He's too hot.
Exactly. And
which
so
is crazy.
And Cousins isn't coming back. So it's Dobbs' show right now. He's I mean, could you say he's on a tryout basis to be potentially a starter for next season?
Oh, you're getting excited over there.
No, it's that stupid automatic video that starts on ESPN.
Oh, we love ads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to ad for us.
Yes.
We'll let you know.
I am curious. I would have to imagine his contract is up after this year. I can't imagine he's on a multi-year deal.
Dobbs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, he is. That's what I mean. So, like, he's playing for a job possibly in Minnesota.
Yes. Yeah. Well, with anybody at this point.
Well, yeah, it's a tryout for all 32 teams.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not everybody's looking for a quarterback, but there's plenty of other ones. I mean, like, think about the situation in Atlanta right now.
Duh.
You got Heineke, and then I don't think they're sold on Ritter. I mean, that's why they benched him.
Clearly not. Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee's kind of up in the air. Levis obviously is a first-year guy, so like maybe they'll give him some time.
I don't know what kind of timeline you'd want if you do buy it, if this isn't a 1 year flash in the pan kind of thing, because he's never really shown this in his career before this.
He's never been a regular starter. I mean, he made a spot start in the playoffs for the Titans, and then he's been a backup.
So I don't know if are you slotting him into like a Niners where it's just like we just need somebody competent to do this, the rest of us are good? Because I don't think you want him on like a young rebuilding team, like something like a Titans maybe.
No, but
maybe they are ready to compete. I don't
but
really know.
Think about this though. What do you like? Think about the constant argument in the NFL is once you pay a quarterback, it hinders the rest of the team because you can't spend money. I don't think Dobbs would be all that expensive if he plays well. Again, there's a lot of contingencies going on for the rest of the season for him, but like if he plays well,
I think you're right.
You don't have to give him this giant contract. I don't think anybody would trust him to have a giant contract for 8 years or whatever it is. Like you could give him a 2-3 year deal that's very team friendly. Like maybe.
Well, is Geno Smith the comparison? I guess is the question. Because he
could be, but I wouldn't pay him what Geno Smith got.
Not after we've seen Geno this year, I suppose either.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you could get him for under $20 million a year. Like you could get him for $12 to $15 million a year. For a 2-3 year contract, and worst case, I'm sure you could restructure it, and he could be your backup if you find somebody else. But
great backup. But he does feel like he could make a pretty strong case to be a starter on a lot of these teams.
Absolutely,
he clearly is.
I mean, he's again. Last week was the most impressive quarterback play you could ask for a guy who shows up, doesn't even know his teammates' names, and is being taught to what to look for on the field as the coach is in his ears. Play clock winding down. I think he's done everything correct to be considered a starter. It's whether or not a team will actually give him that job.
He does feel like...
You want him on the Patriots?
No.
Right now?
No.
Okay.
Definitely not. We need to lose games. I don't want him on our team.
Okay.
He's too good. I think he is like the perfect trade for at the deadline if your guy is hurt guy. I am just so happy that the Jets didn't trade for him because they would be legit Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that he went to the Vikings, and they're, I guess, maybe going to make the playoffs. The rest of the roster isn't quite there.
Justin Jefferson needs to come back. He still hasn't been playing, which is another knock for Dobbs, I think.
True.
Because you don't have arguably the best receiver in the game out there right now. You're dealing with actually a lot of backups. KJ Osborne wasn't in this week. He was out with concussion. So you had Jordan Addison, I believe.
I think Madison got hurt at some point.
Yep, Alexander Madison did get hurt. So, like, you had Ty Chandler getting 15 carries.
Yeah.
Dobbs had 8 of them.
I'm just very glad the Jets were stupid and did not trade for him. I guess they're just going to roll with Zach Wilson and then hope Rodgers makes a miraculous return, but it's not going to matter. What's their record right now?
They're 4-5 now after the loss last night to the Raiders.
It's not going to matter if he's back mid-December if you're not there mid-December. So I'm very thankful that they didn't trade for Dobbs. That feels like it would have been actually terrifying with the rest of the team that they have around them. So love it.
I mean, the Jets are currently 13th in the AFC. 7 teams make the playoffs, so they're pretty far down the list, especially after that loss to the Raiders.
And especially considering the teams on the bubbles are like the Bengals and the Bills. I would
easily
1,000% think they would make it over the Jets.
100%.
And they're already a game up on them.
I mean, they're even behind the Colts, who are 5-5 with Gardner Minshew as their quarterback.
Yeah. The Raiders, the Chargers.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of teams right now, and anything else that stood out to you in this game? Derek Carr got hurt, so Jameis Winston, we got a sighting of him.
Yeah.
Typical Jameis line, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
That's what he does.
He at least kept his team in it. All that scoring for Minnesota was in the first half. They had 24. It was 24-0, or 24-3, I should say. Excuse me, at halftime.
Wow.
And then it was 16 points in the second half from Jameis and that team. So, I mean, he at least got them back into it. Their offense looked, I would say, almost better because at least Derek Carr just wasn't dumping it down every single pass, which has been his go-to this entire year. I mean, great for you. You've got Kamara on your team, but
as the Kamara owner, that was very nice. But watching that offense was like grinding chalk on a chalkboard. Well, actually, that is how chalk is designed.
Nails on chalkboard. Is that better? For you?
Let's go with that. It's just you're probably right. They probably are. They're certainly at least more explosive. I just couldn't watch Derek Carr for that much longer. It was painful.
Oh no, 100%. I mean, it's like he's afraid to take a shot downfield.
Yeah.
And I don't even understand that because that's what he did in Oakland was take those chances, which sometimes it backfired. But
yeah.
Isn't that your mentality? Don't we all know that that's just what he wants to do? Like he's a B-list Jay Cutler at times. I feel like because of the way he likes to throw the ball and thinks he's got a stronger arm than he can muscle throws into windows that sometimes he doesn't.
I do kind of always feel like he's been this though. I feel like he's always been the check down artist.
Really?
He's had years and moments where he kind of goes against it and will toss it long, but I feel like the majority of his career, I've been saying this for the last 3 years, is all he does is throw checkdowns. So there's a mix of it, and maybe it's getting worse as his age has gotten a little older, but I do kind of feel like this is who he is. And certainly Jameis is a hilarious backup to have for him because it's the complete opposite. But yeah, as a Kamara owner, I don't love it because those checkdowns are now 50-yard bomb toss-ups. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, they're probably going to win their terrible division, but I don't think it really matters.
A couple other games going on in this one. We're not going to talk about San Francisco and Jacksonville. Obviously, San Francisco.
They were on bye. What do you mean?
Yeah, that's right. They were on bye.
Must have been.
They fixed whatever issues they had because they had their bye week last week for the 49ers. They won 34-3 over Jacksonville.
I mean, I don't think we really learned anything about them or if they fixed their issues. It's just Well,
Jacksonville's not a bad defense, though.
No, but it's just, the Niners' offense, when they have all their weapons.
Oh, they had Debo back and
terrifying.
everything. Yeah, exactly.
That is, I guess, the big lesson there. Although McCaffrey didn't get his touchdown first time in 17 games.
So he went a full season scoring a touchdown every single game.
And they were trying to get it for him at the end of this game when they were up 30 points with the game over. They kept running. They gave Christian McCaffrey the ball like 3 or 4 times in a row at the goal line. It's like this is the most injury-prone running back in the NFL. Your whole team has been about being too injured to win the Super Bowl for the past 5 years. If something goes sideways here, I am not going to have any kind of concern for you. You did this to yourself.
Did you hear what McCaffrey had to say at his press conference after the game? Sorry guys, I suck. Everybody else scored, but I didn't. It's like just the most down to earth dude. He's like he knew what was happening. He knew his streak had come to an end. One game that I think really stood out to me, not that it should stick out to most people, it was 2 teams with a losing record, but for our teams, the Patriots and the Bears, we were keeping an eye on it.
Tankathon switch.
Yep. The Arizona Cardinals beat the Atlanta Falcons 25-23. Kyler Murray's comeback game.
Let's go. 2-8.
2-8. And
love to see it.
He had an interception on 19 completions for 249 yards. Clayton Tune had a 1-yard touchdown.
What?
Exactly.
Wait, what?
How does that happen? But Kyler Murray also had a touchdown rushing. He had 6 carries for 33 yards. The Falcons don't know what they're doing right now because Taylor Heineke went 8 for 15, 55 yards. He was averaging 3.7 yards. The only thing that seemed like they were doing something competent was they finally gave Bijan Robinson the football inside the 20-yard line. And he did score a touchdown. 95 yards and a touchdown rushing.
Shocking.
For him. Drake London had 3 catches for 36 yards. Kyle Pitts had 3 catches for 30 yards. So it's just like another...
Why draft these guys if you're not going to use them?
I think everybody in the NFL is asking that question.
I don't want to talk about the Falcons. Hopefully they'll get a new coach soon who is a little bit less of an asshole and uses players.
Yeah, Arthur Smith, I think, is primed to get fired sooner rather than later. Just
Couldn't happen
nothing.
to a nicer Nepo baby. But I mean, yeah, they as soon as they didn't trade for Lamar in the offseason, it was kind of like, okay, so you guys aren't serious.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, but I'm glad they lost to the Cardinals and those Tankathon rankings. Let's look at those. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm looking at it right now.
1-8 Carolina, the Thursday game.
Let me tell you,
You were happy with this result?
I'm very much happy with this
There's
result. I was
arguments
in a group chat with a couple of my friends from back home. They said, "Do we cheer for Carolina? Do we
That's the
cheer for the
thing.
Bears?" I was like, "You cheer for the Bears because the Bears have shown flashes of winning
Sure.
at times. They can play some competent football, not often, but it does happen. Carolina is just a bad team, so beat them. Carolina is not going to regularly win games.
No.
So yeah, the Bears did exactly what I wanted them to do. Get the win. Sure, they moved back to 5, so they're 3-7 right now.
Yes.
But the win for Arizona, they were at 1-8. Now they're 2-8. That puts Carolina all alone at the number 1 pick, which is great as a Bears fan.
It's basically the debate of, do you want like a 1-5 or a 3-4?
I want 1-5.
You want the 1.
I want the 1 because you can trade that.
You got a lot of options.
Yeah, you can trade that. Obviously, everybody's like, well, take Caleb Williams. You don't need Justin Fields. Whatever it is.
You either take a quarterback, you trade it for a haul again, like you did.
Exactly.
With got you this Carolina pick in the first place.
Let's be honest. Like, I could see Arizona tossing in both their first-round picks because they have one from Houston from last year.
Okay.
And trying to move up to get number 1 to get Caleb Williams. So like, we'll give you 2 first rounds this year, maybe a second next year, and then pluck some other player that you want.
Yeah, I mean, literally like the Carolina deal last time. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
DJ Moore and a first next year, some couple other bits and bobs.
Exactly.
I mean, there'll be a couple teams who are desperate to do something like that.
I mean, like, I know New England's, after what we saw with Mac Jones getting... Basically, it's funny. I saw this.
Benched.
I saw this on I believe it was Twitter, maybe it was Instagram, but it was a video of Bill O'Brien yelling at Mac Jones, and the caption was, "When you don't hold the flashlight right for your dad when he's working on the car," and it just made me laugh.
There's a lot of memes.
Yeah, but Bill O'Brien just ripped into Mac Jones after a terrible interception, and I mean the Mac Jones experience. I'm sure he's going to start more games, but
you are. I'm not confident he starts another game.
I mean, do you want...
They benched him in this game. This is the first
It's not the first time he's been benched,
This is the first time they've benched him, I would say, in a competitive game. The last 2 times he was benched, they were down 30-3 against the Saints and against the Cowboys. He was benched down 6-10 with 2 minutes to go or whatever. That is still, you have a chance to win. They asked Bill Belichick about it. He said they just needed the change. The whole reason I've been saying he'll probably keep starting is because the backups are so god awful.
Yep.
Like Zappy came in and sucked. Shocker. Fake spike interception into 3 guys. Wow. Okay.
Great vision.
He also had an interesting quote after the game where they asked him about that, and he was like, basically, he started off his quote saying, "Well, I can't say what I actually want to say," and then went on to say
that's the Patriot way right there, though.
It is. Well, usually you don't say that. First bit even. That's the Patriot. So he's just
people are poking and prodding at everybody.
Sideways. J.C. Jackson didn't even make the trip to Germany. They just dropped Jack Jones today.
I saw that. Yeah.
Their other starting corner, who missed curfew with J.C. Jackson a couple nights ago, who was sitting on the sidelines not talking to people during the game. So things are going sideways. Well, it's a question if Bill's still going to be there. I'm not confident Mac starts again. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Will Grier.
Oh my goodness!
Because
that's really the bottom of the barrel for you.
Well, what's the point of seeing Zappy? There's no point in seeing that. So I would be more curious.
Maybe because he showed some flashes last year and minimal playing time. I don't know. The only reason why I think Mac Jones will probably start more games is because Bill Belichick isn't one to say, "I'm going to throw in the towel."
I don't think benching Mac is throwing in the towel.
I think it is because there's nobody else is.
But he did
good.
But they don't
at quarterback.
The picks that he's throwing, the sacks that he's taking, it's so impossible to win with like that. We literally couldn't score 10 points. Like, if it gives him a better chance, if you're not turning the ball over, that's all he cares about. He'll run the ball 30 times if you don't turn it over. If Will Grier goes out there and throws for 200 yards and no touches, no picks, he'll take that every time. It's up in the air at the very least. I don't think it matters either way. They all suck. And hopefully we keep losing. So not a big difference, but they're tied with the Giants and Arizona, who I think is going to win plenty more games with Kyler.
Yeah, I even
think Chicago will. But the Giants suck. They're not going to. Coming out, the Patriots are on bye. Coming out of the bye, they play the Giants. That is going to be a huge deciding game as far as these rankings and who's going to get these high picks. Because it's going to be a struggle for either team to win that game, but 99% someone has to win that game unless they really are so terrible they both tie. So I think that'll be a big indicator for what's going to happen. And then, Carolina might just have this thing unless they pull some real dumb stuff and win another game. Like, it's going to be tough.
I don't know if I really do see them winning another game because Bryce Young, still in his first year, so I don't want to pile on anybody, but just doesn't seem like the guy for Carolina.
It's tough when it definitely seems like the owner picked him over Stroud.
100%.
And Stroud is doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
It does not make it easier. I'm trying to look up
because there's three other teams. Schedule. There's three other teams that here I can bring it up.
They play the Cowboys, the Titans, I guess, are beatable. Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta, Green Bay, Jacksonville, Tampa.
Okay.
It's a lot of losses.
I was gonna say Green Bay's 3-6, Tennessee's 3-6, Tampa Bay's 4-5. It's not like those are great teams.
No.
But I don't see Carolina putting together a strong 60 minutes.
They could beat Atlanta. Anybody could beat Atlanta, I'm convinced.
Well, yeah, they're just a hot mess.
They're just so stupid, it feels like. They're better than a lot of these teams, but they want to, tie a hand behind their back or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's curious, but so the Tankathon is heating up. That is kind of the only thing I'm interested as far as my team. Although,
welcome to the club. It's been like that for a few years for me.
Pop Douglas had a good game, and I like Ramondre Stevenson. Beyond that, the rest of the offense, I can kind of. I was going to say take or leave, but I wouldn't take. I would just leave. And I continue to say every week that the Juju signing was terrible. It didn't make sense at the time.
Well, he's getting less and less snap percentage each week.
We should have signed Jacoby Myers, no brainer. He wanted to come back. Went for Juju. Traded Nick Folk for a rookie kicker who misses kicks every week. So I've said enough. I've said more than I even thought I would.
Yeah, well,
they're not good.
Let's take a look at the playoff picture now that we are heading into Week 11. Only 3 teams with 2 losses or less, and 2 of them were from the Super Bowl last year, and the third one?
I can't believe the third one.
Detroit, 7-2, the Lions.
It's still kind of crazy. A lot of talent on that offense, great offensive coordinator. Both running backs were going this week.
They won 41-38 in a shootout.
Yeah.
You think about what Detroit, that almost reminds me of an old Stafford game for Detroit where the defense didn't show up. He's just trying to will them to victory.
Yeah, it's just him and Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, Jared Goff, 23 completions, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, but it's the dual threat running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery combined for 3 touchdowns and over 200 yards of offense. They had a fantastic showing from their running backs.
Yeah, biting kneecaps. They like it.
It complements Jared Goff so well that it takes a lot of pressure off him. He doesn't have to make all these heroic throws or anything like that. He can just. Yep. I'm not saying he's a game manager or anything like that because he does have moments where he can do more than just game manage.
Sure.
But when you've got running backs like this,
I would still call him that. I think
you'd still call full on game manager. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to consider him a full-on game manager.
Maybe not full-on. I am very surprised how well he's done with the Lions since his trade.
I thought
since that Super Bowl where
I thought that's where he was going to go to die, career-wise, obviously.
Yes. So I am surprised. He probably is a little bit above the game manager, but we'll see in the playoffs. The big thing for them, I think, with the potentially a 2 seed is they need to stay in a dome. They need to stay.
They need home field. They need Philadelphia to lose.
His road splits are not good.
No.
They don't want to go to Philly. That will probably end up what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the more home games they can get, the more dome games they can get. It's the Drew Brees model with the Saints when they went all the way. Stay in the dome. Don't play outside. You'll have a chance.
On the other side of that game, Justin Herbert actually didn't look bad. 27 completions, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Oh, annoying.
Had a QBR of 83.6. Justin Herbert, he is up and down, it feels like. And some of that, I think, comes from coaching, play calling.
It's a little convenient how bad his coach is that he can just blame the coach
Use that.
for
Yeah.
2-3 straight years. Like,
think about it though. I mean, it's not like his coaches really set him up to
no, I
succeed,
know.
and they've dealt with injuries too offensively at
I know.
times.
I just, as a Lamar fan, it's tough sometimes watching Herbert lose all these games and people just like
Coach
salivating over him, loving it.
Yeah.
And then but then Lamar does anything wrong, and it's just like, well, he's got no playoff record. It's like he took his team to the playoffs 3 different times. What the hell has Herbert done? He hasn't done that. Like, I don't. He can't even get there. So it's a little bit of a interesting difference in those two. But he, he does have a pretty bad coach that I think should have been fired after the last playoff run.
Yeah.
So that's a team I would wonder and be curious about if Bill Belichick were to leave the Patriots. If he were to go to somewhere like that, the problem is the Chargers are way too cheap. They'll never actually pay for anything. That's why they didn't fire their coach right now. They didn't want to pay him.
Speaking of, not to change the subject, did you see the buyout for Jimbo Fisher?
No.
$70+ million buyout to be fired at Texas A&M.
Oh, God.
I'd love to get fired for $70 million.
Oh, my God, yeah.
I'd get fired for $1 million.
So was he just not good there and they want to get rid of him?
What they said was their program is stuck in neutral with him. 6-4 in the SEC. It's not like it's an easy conference.
No.
Sorry, that was a little side tangent on coaches being fired. The rest of the playoff picture, though, let's take a look down the AFC. I mean, you briefly mentioned it earlier.
We
3
did.
different AFC North teams are in it: Jaguars, and then the Dolphins from the AFC East are in there. Then the Texans have snuck in the backside at number 7. So I like that bottom 2-3 teams. I feel like we're going to see a lot of fluctuation over the next few weeks.
Yes, and I imagine if the Bills win tonight, they'll be in the 7th spot.
Yeah, they'll be 6-4. So yeah, record-wise, they'd be above the Texans.
Right. So it's between feels like the Texans, Bengals, Bills. Feels like it's going to come down to that 7th spot unless maybe Steelers or Browns drop out as well. Could be very possible.
Yeah, I don't see. Looking at the teams that are the Bills are in the 9th spot right now, 5-4, still playing tonight. I don't see the Colts really making a run to get into the playoffs. I don't see the Raiders making a run to get into the playoffs.
No.
The Chargers are kind of that way back team, and with how they've played, they're under 500 now. Like, I don't see them in the playoffs either. So it's really just down to the Bills, Bengals, and Texans. And then, yeah, like you said, the 3 AFC North teams, I'm sure they'll beat up on each other, and one of them might fall down near the bottom.
The Steelers, once again, the
Steelers are an enigma, dude. They are being outscored, outgained yardage-wise, but yeah, they are 6-3.
It's just Mike Tomlin things.
Yeah.
Hard-nosed football.
Dude just doesn't lose. Like, he doesn't have a losing record. Somehow he still gets them to win.
Would not be surprised at all if they make it.
On the NFC side, you've got Eagles, Lions, 49ers. I don't think there's anything too surprising there for the top 3 spots.
I think the Lions are still surprising they're that high. If they were like a 6 or 7 seed, I'd be like, okay, cool, nice. 2 seed?
2 seed, yeah.
We'll see if they hold on to that.
Saints, Seahawks, Cowboys, and Vikings round out the final 4 spots.
So the whole division is so bad.
Well, they're just winning the South. That's the only reason why they're really into it right now. I mean, the Buccaneers aren't far behind. They're 4-5. But everybody that's out of the bubble right now or on the bubble is below 500. There's just no way I see any of these NFC teams making a push up. Maybe the Buccaneers, if their defense can get healthy and make some moves. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the final setup for the NFC.
I think the only thing
some teams will change, but like position-wise.
The only thing that could change, I think, is whoever wins the NFC South, because it's just everybody.
That's why I bring up the Bucs. Yeah.
I think the rest of these teams will make the playoffs. You're right. Other than the order may be a little different, but I mean, certainly the top 3, I would probably expect the Seahawks and the Cowboys, and then the Vikings are on a heater now. So. And everyone else on this bubble is below 500, or they are in the NFC South.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's just nothing. The NFC is
pretty set.
Yeah, the NFC is way below the standard of the AFC right now in the competitive teams category.
It certainly is if you're just talking quarterbacks, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that too, yeah. Any other games or anything you want to talk about NFL-wise before we move on?
No. I refuse.
Let's move on over to our favorite segment. We keep going back and forth over the weeks. Fantasy Sandbag.
Oh yes.
I've won the last 2 weeks, and right now, last week I set 2 weeks ago I set a new record for low, 49.78 points.
That's crazy.
If Shakir puts up a 0 for me, it would be a new low of just 49 flat. Now we had some issues here. I didn't realize that KJ Osborne was out. I was working yesterday, so were you. So we didn't keep up pace on that one. So I had to find somebody for, again, a Monday night game.
Yeah.
On the last moment. So I went, is it Khalil Shakir?
Yeah.
It's Shakir,
Sounds right.
The wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. I picked him up. He's my final guy going. You had DeAndre Swift on bye for the Eagles, so you picked up James Cook. He's going tonight for Buffalo.
He is.
So, you're only trailing by 6.4 points. So you need Shakir to make some moves and James Cook to do almost nothing.
Okay.
So maybe the Bills are losing early on and start to have to pass a lot.
I just need one big throw to Shakir, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Because I will say that I think the running back has become the hardest position to pick on these fantasy sandbaggers.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of good ones out there, and if you get volume, you're producing. The only reason I picked James Cook, even though I think he is pretty okay, and the Bills are a good offense, it's just the Josh Allen vulturing all the touchdowns.
100%, yeah.
And I just don't really see a game plan where James Cook's getting more than 15 carries, and even then he's not doing a ton with them, so hoping that'll work out.
Watch him get a carry and go for 42 yards today and a touchdown.
That would check out.
So I had to replace a few people. Daniel Jones got hurt. I decided to pick up his backup, Mr. Tommy DeVito.
Yeah. We're gonna have to come up with a waiver order or something at some point if we ever do. Because both of us were like, "Who's gonna get there?" And I was like, "I'll give it to you, and I'll take this guy." But if we really wanted to,
I think we've been doing good on kind of switching.
Yeah, that's true.
You're like, oh, I want to get this guy. I was like, okay, cool, you can have him. I'm gonna look at this guy.
That's
so
true.
We talk it through. We don't kind of sneak it up on anybody. But so Jones was hurt. I picked up DeVito.
What did he score?
11.14 points. He actually didn't have a bad show. He played the Cowboys, so that's a daunting defense, and the Giants
the game
already lost 40-0 to the Cowboys this year.
They did it again, more or less.
Pretty darn close. The final score of that game was 49-17. Actually, let me give you the stat line for DeVito.
Really don't have to.
Well, he threw 2 touchdowns.
Okay. A lot of garbage time.
14 completions.
Decent team.
Guess how many yards?
212.
86.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no. So, it was
okay.
Such a thrashing that even Cooper Rush got some time on the field as the backup for the Cowboys.
I was playing Dak in fantasy this week, so I did not enjoy that.
No, Dak had a good one.
I picked up Aiden O'Connell. I think he even got under that number.
He did. He got a 7.72. Had a fumble. Had an interception. Still got the win.
Crazy.
Wasn't pretty, but he threw a touchdown in the win. Because you had Clayton Tune, who had gotten benched.
Yes.
For Kyler Murray. I mean, I wouldn't say he was
Kyler got healthy.
Kyler got healthy, yeah. I had Ramondre Stevenson, who put up 13.7. That was my high point.
Was mine Najee?
Yours was Najee.
You did about the same. Yeah.
He had 16.7, so 3 more points. I had picked up Chuba Hubbard, and thank God that I did, because when we originally were talking, I was like, I might take Singletary for the Texans, because Pierce was out, and
he went off.
He had 150 yards and a couple touchdowns.
The first half of that game, too, I was like, yes, Brian has Singletary. And then I was like, wait, no, he doesn't.
No, I don't. Picked up Chuba Hubbard, who played on Thursday, because Mostert was on bye. Finally got rid of Raheem Mostert. 5.8 points for him. Your counterpart is James Cooks, who's going tonight. Wide receiver wise, Osborne had the concussion, so I have Shakir going tonight. You had Darnell Mooney, who actually made a play early in the Thursday game and then did absolutely nothing afterwards. He finished with 2.4 points.
That's my guy. That's my wide receiver one.
Yeah.
All season long.
In a couple weeks, you're gonna have to find a new one, though.
For me. Well, luckily, receiver, there actually are some decent options out there.
There are a few out there.
As far as bad options.
Alec Pierce was my pickup for Valdez Scantling, who was on bye with the Chiefs. He went with a 2.60, had 1 catch. You had Michael Thomas, who went down with a knee injury after being arrested for type of battery thing off the field. He had 1.4 points. Man, my tight end though, stellar.
Yeah.
Noah Fant, 1.6 points, basically not even used in the
No.
offense for Seattle.
And yet, my tight end, Kyle Pitts, had barely more than that.
Yeah, he had 4.5.
Pick.
So he had almost 3 points more. And he actually is a playmaker, but just doesn't get used, as we already mentioned with Atlanta.
What you want to do is draft guys in the first round and then not use them.
And not use them.
That's the best way to keep them healthy.
That's the most successful route that we've been able to find.
Mm-hmm.
Defense-wise, I had the Bears, 8.46. You had the Cardinals, 8.18. Very even right there. I picked up Chad Ryland, who you mentioned can't make a kick. So 5.70 for me. And then in the field goal fest, that was the Jets Raiders, you had Daniel Carlson, who hurt you so bad with a 14.50. So my total right now, before we go into Monday night, 49 points. Your total, 55.4. I got to say, we're doing a pretty good job. Those first few weeks, we were getting into the 80s and 90s.
We're settling around the 50s now.
Yeah, I was going to say, from week 4, 50s, you had high 60s. High 50s. You were an 80 on week 5, but since then we've been pretty low. I had 195 week, which was I think Mostert
probably the 35-point game or whatever.
No, that was the Bears defense. Will Lutz and Desmond Ridder for some reason had a good game. But that was a 95.18. That was the high mark.
We're starting to figure it out. Some of the strategy.
We're gonna have to find some subs though, like Pierce for me. I believe the Colts are on bye next week. Thomas is on bye for you.
I'm going Alan Lazard. I already know it.
Yeah, you're going Lazard. I got
all the time. Doesn't catch any balls.
Figure out another. I think we already did some of it.
I think I get a tight end too, right?
Yeah, and you picked up Granson, who I had for a moment. Lazard.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I might pick up Valdez Scantling again, just because he doesn't do much. He still plays over 50% of the snaps.
There's a danger there.
There is. And then Darrell Henderson is the running back I'm picking up for the Rams, who I don't think the Rams really run the ball all that much. So
yeah. I mean, like I said, the running backs are
it's hit or miss.
Kind of difficult to find a bad one randomly right now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
Anything else in Sandbag you want to relate on or anything like that?
No. I'm just, we'll keep rolling. I still want to find another quarterback who goes negative like Clayton Tune did for me. That was
a big one. Didn't help you in the win though.
No, it did not.
So let's do our new segment before we bring on Nerd Corner and your information about Worlds that has been going down. I know we're both excited about talking about it. Not the Onion. I would love to hear your thoughts on some of these headlines.
Okay, I'm ready.
Ready? Chuck E. Cheese removes animatronics in all locations except for one following the release of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's odd backlash, or I don't even say it's backlash, but
so this is a real story.
These are all real headlines, real stories.
It. They're removing. Wait, I don't understand.
Do you know the original Chuck E. Cheese is like sort of the basis of Five Nights at Freddy's?
Yeah.
So they had these animatronics that sing for you at your birthday parties and whatnot.
Yeah.
They've removed all of them because of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Really?
Except for one location.
So the dying franchise that is Chuck E. Cheese sees a light in the tunnel that is kids loving Five Nights at Freddy's, and they go, "No, we will die in the dust. We do not want your attention or interest. We will not even make this a teenager thing with spooky little haunted house sections. No, we will die." That's what they choose. They want to be blockbusters.
I mean, I guess. I mean, they've already had to rebrand.
I thought they were already gone. Oh.
Chuck E. Cheese and everything else like that. So yeah, that's one of them. I actually am interested to see where the last.
I think they'd lean into that. Like this is the last gasp of their ability to make money, probably, and they're like, "No, we refuse." It's like, okay, well, I guess that's why you guys are going the way you're going.
As of August of this year, there are 550 locations of Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh wow!
Across 47 states and 17 countries across the world, and they took all of them out except for one.
So I don't. Okay, that was like a big part of their whole thing, even if it wasn't horror related. So I don't really get it. But Okay. Less maintenance, I guess.
Less maintenance for him.
That's what it's all about.
I love the action of this old man in this next one. Man 89 cuts neighbors' hedges as they hadn't bothered to, then thanks himself in the newspaper.
Okay.
That is some old man stuff right there. I love that.
That's some good neighbor vibes. I'm sure that went over well.
This one, teens bit more serious. Rogue daycare workers busted for allegedly running a child fight ring.
Wow. Okay.
At the daycare.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem with that one.
Yeah, kids need to toughen up a little bit.
It's entertainment.
It Never Ends, the book club that has spent 28 years reading a single book. Finnegan's Wake. Never heard of it.
Finnegan's Wake. Is that a long book?
No idea.
Sounds like it. Are they just reading very slowly?
I just read headlines. That's it.
Okay, that's a short book club.
Unprecedented diarrhea outbreak erupts in the UK as cases spike 3 times above usual.
Erupts? I don't know if I like that verb with that story.
Well, it's the diarrhea outbreak.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Sydney police officer describes shock and fear after colleague pointed gun at him over threat to spoil Top Gun plot. The new one.
Okay, I did see this.
The new one.
I
that
saw
came
this
out
report.
months ago.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a gun to your head. Do not tell me.
It's pretty wild
about this.
Maybe
that guy shouldn't be an officer.
Maybe not. Oh.
Seems kind of like a short fuse there.
Why has he not seen Top Gun Maverick yet? If he's so serious,
I feel like everybody saw it. It was the first movie everybody went back to the theater to go see.
Saved cinemas, yeah. You can't really. There's a statute of limitations on when you can get that mad about spoiling something. Right? It's like you had your chance, man.
Or it's like people who get mad when the show ended 20 years ago. It's like, just watch the show.
Yeah,
just do it.
There's a certain point where you can't get mad at someone for saying what the ending of The Sopranos is. It's a pretty famous ending.
Right. The final headline I have here: he was too sick for a lung transplant. Then doctors held his heart in place with breast implants.
Wow, fascinating. Okay, I'm into that one.
Some
innovation from some doctors.
Yeah, I don't know how.
That makes sense, I guess.
Dr. MacGyver was the first comment on that one.
Yeah. Just use what you got. Hold things in place where you need to.
That's funny.
Fascinating.
That's funny. But those are the headlines I have for this week.
Okay.
Which one was your favorite?
The Onion. I do kind of like that last one.
That's, the breast implant, holding the heart in place.
People at work doing innovative things to get the job done. I'm interested in that. I'm still pretty confounded by the Chuck E. Cheese thing.
Yeah, I don't know why. Nobody ever. I just briefly went over the article. Nobody said why.
It's also weird. I mean, maybe this is the peak of Five Nights at Freddy fame, but I feel like it was way bigger a couple years ago when the games were coming out. Maybe the movie made a lot of money. Maybe this is bigger than that.
It's gone over $250 million now.
Oh, really? Holy cow! Domestically, internationally?
I think it's worldwide.
Okay,
but off of a $25 million budget, though, I mean that's astronomical.
Yeah, I mean, their opening weekend they already made a lot back. I did hear they had a big second week drop, but I mean, yeah, it'll have legs. Well, I think they put it on Peacock is the thing, so it kind of cuts under your theatrical.
I watched it on Peacock, but I think anybody who wanted to go see it went and saw it right away. Like you talked about it last week when I brought it up. Yeah. We talked about it last week during the Nerd Corner when I participated into it. It was just, it's got a built-in audience. So if you wanted to go see it, you went and saw it already, or you saw it on Peacock already. Yeah. So I fully expected a second week drop, but
yeah, I would have thought Chuck E. Cheese would lean into it somehow and try to get in on the fad, but apparently not. But yeah, before we get to Nerd Corner, I was going to recap a little bit of the League of Legends Worlds that's going on.
Hit me with it.
I mean, it was the knockout stage, which is... we got through the knockout stage to semifinals. So there's 4 teams left. T1, the final Korean team, the rest of the Chinese teams. It started with Weibo versus BLG, where the Shy ended up beating them, making finals on his birthday.
There you go.
Got a cake on stage.
Got that birthday bump.
Very, very fun, very emotional. He's just a very high variance, fun guy to watch. It's been a while since he's made the world, so it's been pretty cool. They were not expected basically to make it this far at all. They were considered the 4th strongest of the Chinese teams, and they're now the only Chinese team left. So they survived all the way to finals. that one was a fun matchup. Was pretty hype, but it was nothing compared to what T1 versus JDG was, which was the other semifinals match, which had Faker, the GOAT of League, and on T1 trying to win another championship with this new group that they've never won with. They're kind of infamous for losing in the finals in recent years, which is tough. Versus JDG, which was trying to pave the golden road, as they say, which is where they basically win every tournament that they're in that year. So they win their own region. In League, there's basically 2 seasons per year. Like there's a first half, a first split and a second split, spring and summer or whatever, or maybe winter. I don't know. But basically, you win your first regional tournament. You go to the mid-season international tournament and win that. Then you go back to your region and win your tournament. And then you come to Worlds and win it all. And that's paving the golden road. Nobody's ever done it in League. A couple teams have gotten close, including JDG, who also did not pave the golden road. Faker and T1 came out in a 5-game series with some pretty crazy drafts and some pretty wild ideas. And also Faker, it wasn't the case of like, oh, the veteran GOAT does what he needs to do and the rest of the team is very good. He actually kind of hard carried the games and still looked like maybe the best player in the whole tournament. He had a couple plays that were reminiscent of like some throwbacks of him catching out Ruler, who they called the golden left hand. It's part of the things I love about League is all these nicknames for people. Like Faker is called the unkillable Demon King.
That's a hell of a name right there. Yeah, that's a hell of a name.
He was playing against Ruler, the golden left hand, because he's left-handed.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he is Korean. He was the guy who ended the SKT dynasty back in the day, who beat Faker in the finals.
Okay.
I think on Samsung Galaxy, I want to say. I can't. The teams all change so quickly; it's hard to remember.
It's just a team name is just varied on
I know
who sponsors you or what.
Pretty much, especially in Korea, like the big teams back in the day were Samsung Galaxy.
Okay.
And SKT stands for SK Telecom, which is like a telephone
South
company
Korean.
in Korea.
Yeah. Okay.
And even now T1 it's still owned by that same thing.
Okay.
There's multiple. There was a fun. This is off track now, but there's a fun Korean rivalry that used to be SKT versus KT Rolster. They call it the Telecom Wars because they're both like owned by different organizations of the SK Telecom sponsor. So yeah, Ruler, the golden left hand, beat Faker back in the day. He has since gone to China and is now on the super team with JDG, trying to pave the golden road against Faker. They're meeting up again. There's a pretty hype teaser video they did for this, getting them to talk about it, and everybody else on Faker's team was like, Ruler was part of one of Faker's most down moments, so we want to help him get his revenge. We're going to come back for him even harder. But it was a pretty hype series, I gotta say, and yeah, T1 ended up pulling it out, and Faker ended up like having a huge hand in a lot of that and making the plays that needed to be made, and gets his team to finals and sets it up for Weibo versus T1, which is going to be next Saturday, but it feels like it's going to be pretty hype.
So we're gonna have another recap next episode,
because
it'll be after the finals.
It will. I'm still. It feels like a win-win either way. Whether the Shy or Faker end up winning, I'm going to be pretty happy, and it's going to be a cool story. I am probably going to end up rooting for T1 and Faker because I can't. It's going to be very difficult if they lose again in the finals, like they have multiple times already. It's just. And this is probably, if they don't win, even if they do win, this may be the last chance this roster gets to compete together. Mm-hmm. There's a good chance that they break it up, especially if they lose. So I'm hoping that they win.
They break it up because they can't get over the hump?
Yeah, I mean, they've lost a lot in the finals already. They've always been competitive but can't finish it. And this is just kind of the way this sport goes. A lot of these teams will just break up and, it's like any sport. It feels like it's time kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he hasn't won with this group, and it's a lot of young rookies who are like, a lot of them are a lot of the best players in their roles, but they haven't been able to finish it off. So I would like to see that happen and to see Faker get one. He won Worlds 10 years ago, and he now has a chance to win Worlds again, which is
That's a
crazy.
Long break in between championships.
It is. I will say, I think that was like the first time he won Worlds.
Okay.
It's not the last time, but that's still especially for the timeline of League is almost like 2 times because they have 2 seasons per year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that is like
so you get 2 opportunities basically.
He's played like 20 seasons
Yeah.
since in those 10 years. That's kind of insane. Although there is only one Worlds every year, I should say, but there's multiple regional tournaments. So yeah, it's still hype. I'm hyped for it. They're having New Jeans perform for Worlds, which is like a giant K-pop group.
Oh, okay.
Who I don't really know about.
Yeah, I don't know much about K-pop.
They did like the theme song for this Worlds tournament, so I'm just excited to see how it goes. They usually put on a good show in the past, and they have like augmented reality elements of like giant dragons flying down on the stage while they're doing their thing. So they put a lot into those shows, especially in Korea. So I'm curious what that'll look like. But I'll be rooting for Faker, seeing if he can get one more and add to the GOATS trophy case.
Okay. What is the main topic of Nerd Corner this week?
Well, you still haven't watched Ahsoka, right?
I have not.
Okay.
That's been on my homework for a little bit now.
We're getting further from my memory of what my thoughts on Ahsoka were, but at some point we can talk about that if we want.
Bring it on. Let's go. I want to hear your thoughts because I'm not going to understand most of it anyways. Because you already said that I have to watch like the Bad Batch and Rebels and Clone Wars to understand.
Rebels. It's just the Rebels sequels.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about Ahsoka.
Okay.
I was going to talk about either Spider-Man 2 or the news of a Zelda movie. Which do you want to hear about?
Let's do the news of the Zelda movie. Live action?
Yeah. Right away.
That's a big no.
Bit of a strike. I don't know. So they came off, obviously, the huge success financially that was the Mario movie.
Mm-hmm.
Made over $1 billion. I think it made the most money of any movie this year, unless Barbie maybe caught it.
I think Barbie caught it. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it did even though, because it was upwards of $1 billion. It may have. Either way, huge success financially. The movie itself is pretty mid, which is to be expected considering it's from Illumination, who makes almost exclusively mid movies.
Yeah.
Minions and Sings. And
Barbie did pass Mario Brothers.
There you go.
Full on, like worldwide and domestic.
Gotcha. What was the worldwide?
For Barbie or
both?
Barbie was 1.4 billion.
Jesus.
Super Mario's was 1.3 billion.
Okay.
And it was about
pretty close.
80 million more. Well, yeah, right? I don't know. These numbers are hard.
It's big numbers, big scale.
Yeah. Big numbers. But yeah, Barbie did overtake the Super Mario Bros.
Okay. But yeah, huge success of the Mario movie. Seemed like a no-brainer that they would continue on and make more animated movies. And Zelda is a pretty decent choice as far as a world that you can do.
Yeah.
But so they announced this, and I basically have three. There's 3 components that we already know, and I'm kind of out on all 3.
That's not a good sign.
It's not a good sign. The first one is it's live action, which right away is like, oh, why would you do that to yourself? This would be very easy, I feel like, to work in an animated form.
Well, think of you just did that with Mario.
It feels like they are repeating the mistake they made with the 90 Mario movie, where they made the live action one.
Yeah, the one that was just not good.
Yeah, with John Leguizamo and
Dennis Hopper. Yeah.
Yes. Dennis Hopper? Was he
He's the bad guy. He's
okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy who played Mario right now. It's not coming into my head. But he was the Who Framed Roger Rabbit guy. Who did a lot of stuff. Great actor. Not a great movie. But yeah, it feels like they're repeating a lot of those mistakes because it's like they're gonna do the live action version. I'm not sure why. The other 2 things that are concerning, it is from. This is another conversation. It's from the director of the Maze Runner movies. He's only made the 3 Maze Runner movies, a couple other tiny things, and then he's gonna make this. And I will say the other upcoming project I saw in there that kind of blew my mind and scared me. He's doing the first of these new Planet of the Apes movies as well. And I'm like, what? Does he just have some kind of weird relationship with Sony or something like that? I don't love the track record, I gotta say.
I did see the new poster for the.
I watched the trailer. It looks kind of interesting.
Does it?
Yeah.
And he directed that one though.
He directed it apparently, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
I'm a little scared, but we'll see. The first Rise of the Apes movie was made by a sort of a smaller time director who hadn't had as
I
much
like
stuff.
that one though. That was
And
the
I
one
like
with
that. I
James
do.
Franco, right?
Yes, and and John Lithgow, and I do like that one. So, and then they got Matt Reeves to come in and do the next two, who eventually did Batman. So maybe it'll be a situation like that. I don't know. But
Bob Hoskins, by the way, was the original Mario.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, it's the director's name is Wes Ball. He did the Maze Runner movies. That's it. Little concerning.
I never saw any of those.
No, I didn't either. I remember the Scorch Trials trailer a lot because they kept saying the Scorch Trials, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
the guy from Game of Thrones, Littlefinger, and then the writer. Oh God, am I gonna forget already who the writer was? Give me just a second. This new Zelda movie. Who's writing it? It wasn't a very compelling answer, I gotta say, based on when I looked it up, and I'm now forgetting it. And I'm gonna get there.
Here, do you just want me to look up the?
I mean, I'm kind of looking it up. Oh, okay, yeah. His name's Derek Connolly. He's the writer of the Jurassic World movies.
Oh, you mean the ones that didn't do very well?
Yeah, the ones that are pretty poorly written. Yeah, those.
That's
those
a great sign for Zelda.
Yeah, so I'm a little concerned. There was some other stuff on his page as well. One sec. Oh yeah, the Rise of Skywalker.
Also not a great.
He's had some other screenplay for Monster Trucks. You remember that trailer for that movie?
I remember. I can visualize the poster of it right now. Yeah, no, I can see the poster in my mind. Never saw it though.
No, I didn't either. He wrote Safety Not Guaranteed, which I've heard good things about, but I haven't seen.
I've never even heard of that.
That was the Colin Trevorrow movie that got him Jurassic World. It sounds like he's a Colin Trevorrow guy.
Okay.
Who was originally going to do Rise of Skywalker, who did most of the Jurassic Worlds. I don't know if he did all of them. He wrote the screenplay for Detective Pikachu, which is maybe his best highlight on here. Because I
actually didn't hate that movie.
I sort of liked it.
I was good with that one.
And he did the screenplay for Kong Skull Island, which I sort of liked, but had very bad main characters, I would say.
I'm looking at Safety Not Guaranteed. There's 3 notable people I really like.
Yes.
Mark Duplass, Jake Johnson, and Aubrey Plaza are all in that movie.
It's been on my list for a long time. I've just never.
Jeff Garlin's in it. Come on now.
I know. So it's one of those. It's on my list. Maybe one day I'll eventually get to it. So I don't know. The Zelda movie, I think if they just make it animated, it's very simple. It's very easy. It's the Sword and Sandals adventure movie.
Well, you can use the same animation that you had for like Super Mario or whatever. But going live action, it just doesn't make...
There's a lot more potential for cringe. There's a lot more potential. This is like kind of akin to a lot of the issues with adapting anime into live action as well. It's like some of the sillier elements are going to look a lot more silly. It's harder to get away with. Now you're worried about how do these CGI elements look. Some of these monsters and characters from this world, or now we have to find a way to actually make the CGI look good. It's like if it's all just animated, it's part of the world and you kind of accept it.
Yeah.
Whatever that art style is. I don't totally understand. To me, it's like, it's kind of surprising to me that they went with like an Illumination company to animate it. In my mind, this would be ideal and perfect if it was Studio Ghibli. And maybe maybe they're more of kind of doing their own thing and they're not taking on other people's projects and working outside with third parties like that. But like,
they've had a lot of success just doing their own stuff.
They have,
right?
But so they haven't like adapted like a big franchise or anything like that. So maybe it's not more out of their wheelhouse. But like Princess Mononoke is the literal perfect example for what the Zelda movie should be and probably should look like, and how it should work. That basically, in a lot of ways, has like a Link character and a Zelda character in it who are running around, Sword and Sandals adventure story with crazy monsters and evil. It kind of is Zelda in a lot of ways. It's a fantastic movie. It's one of my favorites. It's one of the best Ghibli movies out there. It feels like that kind of art style and they're a Japanese company. Like, it's just surprising to me that isn't kind of the direction this went. I think that would have been a lot more fascinating and have a lot more potential to be good rather than just make a lot of money. But I don't know. I'm a little worried. The writer, the director, the live action, it's like right off the bat, it's like, So I don't know. If you nail the casting of these people, maybe that gets a lot of people back on board. If it's like a but based on the way they cast the Mario movie, I'm a little concerned as well. Where it's just like it's Chris Pratt.
That might be a little different because you're only using a voice. So
if it's like Tom Holland as Link, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Oh yeah, that's so much. Yeah.
And there's not that many like sort of youngish actors that they could go with, unless ideally I would say if they're going live action,
bringing a new face.
That's what I was gonna say. You start afresh and you get someone who's kind of relatively unknown to be his characters, so you don't have baggage coming into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how it'll go. It's a couple years out, but the gears are turning and they're making it happen, and I'm a little concerned with the direction the track's pointing in, but we'll see where it ends. I don't know.
Can I have an old man take?
Sure.
Can I get some originality from a movie for once?
No. This is no. Only thing it's like the Five Nights at Freddy. You need a built-in audience before you release your movie, so you know you're gonna make your money back. You can't just like make a good movie and expect people to come and see it. No. It's got to have the right IP and the brand and be a 4 crossover hit with every demographic. Yeah, we're in the late stages of capitalism here. You know, we can't be messing around. We'll just write a movie off and get a tax write-off, even if it's finished.
Yeah, that new John Cena movie or whatever got written off.
There was a Wile E. Coyote cartoon.
Yeah.
This has been happening too, that they're now getting so much backlash they kind of are shopping it to other studios.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they just said that they could shop it. I mean, that happened to Batgirl.
Yep. We'll probably never see that.
I doubt we ever will. There's probably one person who's got the copy.
If there's some kind of like we might see the movie that is the heist of the movie. I don't know if we'll ever actually see Batgirl. That would be an interesting movie if like people break into the Warner Brothers lot and steal the real Batgirl, one. But I don't know if we'll ever actually get Batgirl normal.
No.
So,
but I just think it's so bad. Like,
this is now the trend, though.
But I hate it.
We've done the superhero movie era. It's kind of dying.
Yeah. Do you have any? Before we move on,
no.
You've got zero interest in seeing the Marvels or whatever.
I
saw they teased the X-Men in it, maybe.
Yeah, they did. I heard that, but they've been doing that in every project for the last 3 years. Yeah. So, I do like the character or the actress and the character of Miss Marvel. The Kamala Khan.
Yeah,
she's great. She's great in the comics. I like her comics run. I've read a couple of them. She plays really well with Miles Morales. The show, the pilot is one of my favorite pilots ever.
Okay.
The first episode. I wouldn't watch after that. I would just watch the first episode. You get everything you need from that character in that, and it ends in a good place and sets her up, and then you can walk away. They kind of lost the plot and it went off the rails in the show.
Oh, okay.
Because it was
sounds like a Marvel TV show.
Yeah, doesn't it? Because it was kind of going to be the one show where it was like, we're just going to do a small stakes story about a girl getting her powers in high school or whatever. Cool. That's actually enough that you could get through it in 6 episodes. You're not doing a whole bunch of stuff.
Sounds like the female version of Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's
young
like
superhero getting. Yeah.
It's
okay.
Little origin story, a little high school adventure in her home city. I think it's New Jersey or Bronx or something. Okay. One of those. She's got a lot of pride for her city. It's like, oh, cool. This is small scale. You can do this.
For some reason, I thought it was like Toronto.
Anyways, halfway through, they go back in time to India and deal with the apartheid. So.
In the show?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Halfway through the show, they're like, we're flying to India. That's where it goes off the rails the first time. And then they go back in time to the apartheid times. And I'm like, this is a Disney Plus show. You're not equipped to deal with these things.
Okay, I have a follow-up now.
Okay.
Big time follow-up. You handle some heavy material right there. But then they just released their first like R-rated show trailer or whatever in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Is this the Echo?
Yes, and everybody's like, well, why couldn't you just use that for Moon Knight or whatever? Not that I even finished Moon Knight. I got like 2 episodes in, and I was a little confused at it at points. But like,
yeah, that one's faded from my memory mostly.
If you're going to like, I feel like there's plenty of other opportunities where you could have used the gore or physicality that Echo is going to be putting out into other things. Am I wrong?
No, Moon Knight is a great example of that. The show had no edge, and that is a character that has a lot of edge. So it for me especially, if it was just like, this isn't really quite it. If it was more of a TVMA kind of look or whatever, maybe that would have worked better. That Echo show has a whiff of Andor to it. Just a whiff of like they announced this. It sounds like the dumbest thing that I'm not interested in. And then I look at it and I'm like, this actually, it might be a situation where everyone forgot about it and they just went off and made a little show that actually has a beginning and end. And
that'll slap.
And then it's like, oh shit, like, are they going to get me again? Like, I much less chance of it actually being Andor, I will say. But I don't know. I'm mostly kind of out on the Marvel stuff right now.
Yeah. But yeah, so it all just goes back to products that is already well known and then just making a script off of it or whatever. Like a movie that we both said that we thought was, it was good. It was a good little flick. Detective Pikachu. Like that's at least a little bit of a spin-off of something we already... Well,
that's a game.
I know, but I'm saying like that at least is a little spin-off of like, oh, this character was trapped inside of a Pokemon. That's why you could talk to his kid. Like there was something where it wasn't just the game or like 100% based off of the game.
Well,
does that happen in Pokemon? I don't know. I've only played the red and blue version.
No, there's a literal Detective Pikachu game.
Oh, is there?
With a gruff Pikachu who drinks coffee, and it turns out it's his dad at the end.
So then I see.
So it is.
So there, I missed. Exactly I didn't know that was a game. So that's on me. I got egg on my face now.
But they get you the Pikachu. But I understand what you're saying.
Like, at least give me some like little variation to it. I guess if you're gonna use something that we already all know, at least like add something different to it to give it its own spin or something. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a good example of that, but most of the time they just do the most basic, watered down version, like the Uncharted movie or whatever, and it's just miscast and too late. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's gonna keep happening, but every once in a while there's an original movie out there. It's usually just from those original kind of auteur directors, more so than like.
Like Darren Aronofsky or whatever?
Yeah, or, Guillermo del Toro or David Fincher's got a new movie out that's just about some guy who kills people.
Oh, I watched the first 30 minutes and I hated it.
Oh, really? I still need to watch it on Netflix. So.
I don't want to spoil anything for you, but basically in the first 30 minutes, I think he audibly says like 10 words out loud. Everything else is supposed to be an internal dialogue. And it was sort of slow.
Sure.
Sort of slow.
We'll see. I'm a big Fincher guy. I think I could get into it.
I've liked his stuff in the past. That's why I was like, I'll watch it. But
I never saw that Mank movie he did. But
the Mank movie?
Mank.
Oh, yeah.
Which he did instead of the next season of the last season of Mindhunter, which I probably would have preferred.
That was about the script for
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane, yeah.
Gary Oldman. Yeah. So I haven't quite seen that one, but yeah, it's fewer and far between. It's a lot easier to pitch a movie when you know it already has a fan base that will get you a certain return. But it's not like a Blumhouse movie where the budget's so low that you can kind of make your money back most of the time anyways. Mm-hmm. If you're putting $100 million in, not even the Marvel stuff's making its money back now. I haven't checked on the box office of the Marvels over the weekend. I kind of want to now, but even like their TV show, The Secret Invasion show, is a $200 million budget. Like, and I just... if those aren't even making money now, like people are going to get more and more restrictive as far as what they'll pay for.
A combined $110 million for domestic and international.
What was its domestic?
$47 million in North America.
Oh my God, it's sub 50. Ooh, that's really bad. That is really bad.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at.
The budget on that's got to be like 200 mil.
So let's see. The opening was 47 million. It's made 88.5 million worldwide so far. It was released a few days ago on November 10th.
$270 million budget.
Yeah, so it's drastically underperforming.
Oh my God!
Is this supposed to be like an all-female?
I mean, they are all female.
Like just like a female-centric superhero movie. Not that I have anything against it. I don't know much about it.
It's basically it's a Captain Marvel sequel, but they incorporated a couple other characters into her story, sort of as side characters.
Almost like
that are closely tied to her.
Almost like a Winter Soldier or a Civil War.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like they bring in other characters to help develop the plot of whatever.
Yeah, and it makes sense. The two characters they did choose, like
Miss Marvel was one of them.
Miss Marvel, who is obsessed with the Captain Marvel character, so there's a lot to play with there. The Monica Rambeau character, who was in WandaVision, and was the daughter of her friend in the first movie, who I literally didn't remember that until
of Danvers' kid?
In the Captain Marvel movie, she has a pilot friend who has a little daughter.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's this character
okay.
grown up.
Okay.
Because that movie was set in the 90s. And then she left.
I remember because she went to a blockbuster. Yes.
Yeah. And then she left the planet for 20 years, came back once to punch Thanos, and left again.
There's other people in the galaxy that need my help.
Sure.
I believe that's one of the lines that she said.
I'm fine with it. It's not really a character that I enjoy, so I'm fine if you're off planet doing stuff.
Other things.
I don't care.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, but I would just, hopefully Miss Marvel will get a better chance in something better, because that's a great actress and that's an interesting character. I did hear that they basically did a setup at the end of that for her and the Kate Bishop character from the Hawkeye show.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like something I would like to watch. Those
you talking about at the end of the Marvels or at the... Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Haley Steinfeld character. Having I'm sure they're setting up some Young Avenger thing to do or something. But those two characters and actresses are actually interesting and would probably do some fun stuff together. I'm interested in that. Not so much the Marvels movie, just because I didn't really like the first one, and the character itself I don't really like. She's like this aloof, super powered person. It's the Superman problem, but she's like more of an arrogant asshole than Superman usually is. So it's tough to really get on board with. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of trying to not watch any of the Marvel stuff at this point.
Yeah, I've lost a lot of interest. The only thing that I want to watch that I have not watched from Marvel lately is Guardians 3.
Oh yeah,
which I've heard great things about.
Which was great and barely counts as a Marvel movie.
Yeah,
because it's just the James Gunn movie.
Yeah,
that was the one that I saw, and I'm happy that could be the last one that I see for a while, because I liked it a lot. Great villain, great soundtrack, great characters. Yeah, pretty satisfying end for that story. So I was pretty happy with that one. But yeah, I don't know. I've been saying for a while, maybe I'll get back on board if you do X-Men and Fantastic Four, the actual interesting stuff. They've been putting it off for so long.
Well,
they might lose me before then. They keep teasing it, but then not really doing it, not really teasing it.
Well, I was going to say, they're bringing in a whole bunch of characters now that, like, the casual superhero fan probably doesn't know a whole bunch about.
Yeah, well, yes, but that is also that's how they started. That's what they've been doing. So they've done it before. Like, when they started, Iron Man and Thor and Captain America were like B, C-list characters that they did because they didn't have Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and X-Men.
I at least knew of even those characters, though. I didn't know anything.
Guardians is the perfect example.
I didn't know anything about Guardians at all.
And they are one of the better franchises in there.
But I think a lot of that has to go with James Gunn too.
90% of it.
But I was gonna say, like, the core of the Avengers, like, I already knew about them, and I'm very much a casual.
That's true. They were still at least known of.
Yeah, where, like, I would say a good example of getting somebody into the Avengers that I didn't know much about was Black Widow.
Yeah.
But they used Iron Man 2 as that kind of buffer to get her into the cinematic universe and all that other stuff. But, like, I don't know much about Kamala Khan or this other person that's in the Marvels. I really don't know much about Captain Marvel.
No, I don't really either.
So, like, those movies really, I feel like Captain Marvel only came out because it had to, like, explain why Samuel L. Jackson wears an eye patch, and then the fact that she's got superpowers.
Not a great explanation.
Yeah, no, I thought that was pretty bad.
I mean, the only reason, not the only reason, a huge reason that movie was as successful as it was they put it out right before Endgame.
Because they have to explain why she shows up in Endgame, right?
Yeah, but it's also like, okay, well, now everyone who maybe wouldn't have seen it, it's like, now you kind of have to see it so you can see Endgame. Like,
yeah, that's that was a built-in precursor into seeing Endgame,
Yeah, and it was like one of the, I think it was at least Marvel's first actual female superhero movie, which was like way too freaking late, and obviously that was a huge indicator in how much success it had.
The back end of Phase 3, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because Phase 3 was Endgame when.
They let DC and Wonder Woman get there before they did, so that says plenty. And they should have done the Black Widow movie like 10 years ago. Maybe it would have worked a little bit better.
Yeah, after she had already died.
Yeah, I could never really square that away in my head.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. Any final thoughts for Nerd Corner, or any other final thoughts before we wrap up today's episode?
If you're looking for a good Marvel story, Marvel Spider-Man 2, the video game, is pretty freaking good. And very fun. So I'll end up talking about that at some point. But that is kind of where I'm getting my Marvel storytelling at this point. And I
Probably
will
not
say,
a bad place to get it from.
like, if you're talking like Spider-Man rankings, like the Spider-Verse movies and these Spider-Man games, I think are both head and shoulders above certainly the Marvel Spider-Man stuff, and probably maybe the Raimi stuff as well. The Raimi stuff's a lot closer. It's got a lot more heart. And this story isn't totally finished, I guess, as far as the video game stuff and the Spider-Verse stuff.
And the Spider-Verse,
they're both kind of at 2 out of 3 right now. But the 2 that we've gotten have both been, like, pretty fucking stellar.
You didn't like the new Marvel Spider-Mans at all? Or, like, just doesn't, like, reach up to that level?
I did. I don't think they reached... I don't even think they reached the level of the Raimi stuff quite, based on the heart. I mean,
I thought the Raimi stuff was darker.
Yes, and and had more heart. It was cheesier.
Yeah.
Campier, I guess I should say. Great cast.
I'm a sucker for a good Bruce Campbell cameo.
For Willem Dafoe,
Yeah.
I love all that. If he had a different version of his Spider-Man 3 that he had wanted to do, I think it would have been more interesting.
The original version that he wanted to do, yeah.
Well, have you heard the Bruce Campbell stuff about?
Yeah,
that?
He's supposed to be Mysterio.
Yes, which would have been a great.
Yeah, that would have been
because he shows up
perfect.
throughout as different.
He's
people.
in each one of those movies as a different character.
He's clearly setting it up, so that would have, I think, maybe even put those even higher, but. The problem with the Marvel Spider-Man stuff is it's so much Iron Man, and he's so much like
he's the
kind
mentor,
of, like almost a trust fund kid, where it's like here's your super suit, here's this, here's that. And it's
like nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it
at
all.
It took them until the end of this most recent movie to get to Spider-Man in a place where he actually feels like Spider-Man.
Well, he's dealt with some loss
He's down on his luck. He's dealt with some loss. He's living off of his own. Like getting by as like a poor college student or whatever, just barely getting by. It's hard to barely get by when your trust fund daddy is right there as Tony Stark, making you an Avenger. The first movie is pretty solid. I will say it's mostly carried by the Michael Keaton twist. That is what I think of first, second, and third about that movie, and it is great.
I think of the teaser trailer that they put out where he's like, or not even teaser trailer, it's like the first like minute where he's filming everything on his phone, and then he's like in the car with Tony Stark and like flashes him on. He's like, oh, thanks for letting me be a part of the Avengers or whatever. It's all that or stuff.
And like I do like a lot some of the mentor aspects from Tony Stark and stuff.
But it basically became, like you said, they're like an extension of Iron Man.
Yeah, it's a little too much. The second one I didn't really like so much because it just felt like a very wacky high school kind of adventure. I liked the Jake Gyllenhaal stuff and kind of how that was dealt with as far as whether or not it was the actual Mysterio we're thinking of versus the way they did it. I thought that was interesting. The way the movie ended was kind of ridiculous, how they pinned his death on him, even though this is an evil man who is corrupting knowledge all around the world, and you probably shouldn't just believe him or this doctored video that he put out. So that was kind of okay. And then the third one where it went full multiverse was I described it as like a wild roller coaster ride in theaters, but I don't, as an actual movie, does it hold up? I don't know so much. Rewatching it, I don't know so much. Yeah. What are the arcs of a lot of the characters? There's too many characters to have an arc. I don't know. So, and I haven't rewatched it, but I like the Willem Dafoe stuff in it because I love Willem Dafoe. But most of the villains, it kind of felt a little overstuffed. And
you didn't like the dialogue between the spoilers, the 3 Spider-Mans? It's like, no, you were amazing. You were amazing.
It was a lot of that stuff. Like I said, like in the moment, watching it in theaters, it's like, oh my god, they're doing it. This is fun. This is so
this
fun.
Is awesome.
This is crazy. I think if I went back and rewatched it, it would be a lot more like. I don't think it would have quite the same effect. The initial reveals of them as well in the movie were like pretty underwhelming when they just like walk through that sling ring. And it's like,
well, you're supposed to think that that's just
the first one kind of works where you're like, oh, there's Peter, he's coming back.
And it was Toby, wasn't it?
Oh shit! I think the first one was. I thought it was Garfield. I don't remember now.
I thought it was Toby
because I thought Toby came through after in like street clothes, and it was just like, hey guys.
No idea.
And that one was kind of the weird one for me. I don't really remember. I do like the one moment where he got to save MJ or whatever because he didn't get to save Gwen, which is like probably that moment is probably the best thing in any of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and it's not even in those movies.
Yeah.
Because those movies I don't really mess with much.
I don't. Neither do I.
I still have never even seen the first one, technically.
No, you're not missing much.
No, and why would I? But all I'm saying is the Spider-Verse stuff's top-notch, and then these Spider-Man games are right below it. It's specifically even just the story I'm talking about. And I think they're easily better than all the Marvel stuff, and they're pretty close to the Raimi stuff, I would say. So check out the games. They're good.
All right, that's Ray Bradley. I'm Brian Slag. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Sportslandia. Heavy on the Nerd Corner this week, but I had a lot of questions.
Keeps getting heavier.
Yeah, well,
we'll see. It'll turn into
Nerdlandia. Ask questions.
Got
to learn a little bit here. So yeah, right, Nerdlandia. That wraps up Sportslandia, though. Brought to you by the Next Professional Athlete platform, and a big shout out to Golden State Lumber for letting us use their offices to record. Stay safe. We'll catch you next week.